The year is 1588. Philip II of Spain, a monarch consumed by fervent Catholic faith and frustrated ambition, casts a long shadow over Europe. He envisions a grand crusade, a holy war to topple the Protestant Queen Elizabeth I from the English throne and reclaim England for the Catholic Church. His instrument for this divine mission, the awe-inspiring Spanish Armada, a formidable fleet of warships, the likes of which the world had never seen. At the helm of this grand armada stood Alonso Perez de Guzman y de Zúñiga, the Duke of Medina Sidonia. A nobleman of distinguished lineage but lacking naval experience, Medina Sidonia was a reluctant leader, thrust into command after the untimely death of the seasoned Admiral Santa Cruz. Despite his reservations, Medina Sidonia dutifully embraced the weighty responsibility, vowing to see the king's will done. The Armada's objective was clear: cross the English Channel, rendezvous with the seasoned army of the Duke of Parma stationed in Flanders, and launch a decisive invasion of England. The fate of nations hung in the balance, a tense anticipation gripping the courts and commoners alike. The Spanish Armada, a potent symbol of Philip's ambition and unwavering belief, was ready to etch its name in the annals of history. Little did anyone know the stage was set for a clash of titans, a maritime struggle that would forever alter the course of European history. Under a sky heavy with anticipation, the Spanish Armada, a majestic fleet of 130 ships, weighed anchor in Lisbon harbour on May 28, 1588. A forest of masts adorned with the banners of Castile and Leon swayed rhythmically against the backdrop of the bustling port city. Thousands of sailors, soldiers and adventurers, their faces etched with a mixture of trepidation and excitement, manned the decks, their voices a low hum against the creaking of timber and the flapping of sails. Leading this impressive assembly was the imposing figure of the Portuguese galleon São Martinho, Medina Sidonia's flagship. From its lofty stern, adorned with intricate carvings and the royal standard of Spain, the Duke surveyed his formidable armada. Galleons, hulking warships bristling with cannons, formed the backbone of the fleet, their massive hulls dwarfing the sleek galleasses and nimble pataches that darted amongst them. The Armada's mission was audacious: sail through the English Channel, a perilous passage even in calm weather, and link up with the Duke of Parma's veteran troops stationed in Flanders. From there, shielded by the Armada's might, Parma's army would cross the narrow strait, disembark on English shores, and deliver the decisive blow to Elizabeth's reign. As the last vessels slipped their moorings and the Armada slowly majested out of Lisbon harbour, the hopes and prayers of a nation, indeed of a continent, sailed with them. The fate of England, the future of Europe's religious landscape, all hung precariously on the success of this grand expedition. Across the English Channel, news of the Armada's departure from Lisbon ignited a firestorm of activity within the English court. Queen Elizabeth I, the Virgin Queen, known for her fiery spirit and shrewd political acumen, rallied her nation to meet the Spanish threat head-on. England, though smaller and less wealthy than Spain, possessed a secret weapon, a fleet of warships superior in maneuverability and firepower. Sir Francis Drake, a seasoned privateer who had tasted the riches of the Spanish Main and earned a fearsome reputation as El Draque, the Dragon, among Spanish sailors, was tasked with leading the English defence. Drake, along with his skilled Vice-Admiral, Lord Charles Howard of Effingham, assembled a fleet of swift and agile warships, purpose-built for speed and heavy firepower. The English ships, smaller and lighter than their Spanish counterparts, boasted a crucial advantage. They could sail closer to the wind and manoeuvre with greater agility. Their gunners, drilled in rapid-fire techniques, could unleash devastating broadsides at a rate that far surpassed the Spanish gun crews. English tactics, honed in years of naval skirmishes, emphasized speed, maneuverability and long-range artillery duels, a stark contrast to the Spanish preference for close-quarter grappling and boarding actions. As the Armada advanced, an air of grim determination settled over the English fleet. They were outnumbered, outgunned in terms of sheer weight of shot, but not outmatched. They were fighting for their homes, their queen, their very way of life. The English sailors, stirred by patriotic fervour and a healthy dose of fear, prepared to face the might of the Spanish Armada. The stage was set for a clash of naval titans, a battle for the ages. The first encounter between the two great fleets occurred on July 31st, off the coast of Plymouth. The Spanish Armada, sailing in a crescent formation designed to maximize firepower, presented a formidable spectacle. Their towering galleons, adorned with ornate carvings and colourful banners, seemed to stretch endlessly across the horizon. The English ships, smaller and nimbler, harassed the Spanish flanks, unleashing volleys of cannon fire before darting out of range. The English tactics proved effective. Their faster, more manoeuvrable ships allowed them to dictate the terms of engagement, staying out of range of the Spanish broadsides while delivering their own devastating salvos. The Spanish, hampered by their cumbersome ships and slower reloading times, struggled to respond effectively. Days turned into nights as the two fleets shadowed each other, a deadly dance of cannon fire and evasive manoeuvres. One crucial decision by the Spanish would have significant implications: the refusal to anchor in the Solent, the strait separating the Isle of Wight from mainland England. Medina Sidonia, wary of English fireships and hoping to maintain his northward course to rendezvous with Parma's troops, opted to bypass this potential strategic advantage. This decision, debated by naval historians ever since, would prove costly. As the Armada sailed past the Isle of Wight, the English pressed their attacks, their ships darting in and out of range like angry wasps. The superior English gunnery began to take its toll. Spanish ships, their hulls pierced and rigging shredded, started to fall behind, their formations becoming increasingly ragged. The English, emboldened by their success, prepared for a decisive blow. Fire in the night. The night of August 7th brought a new terror to the Spanish Armada fireships. As the Armada lay at anchor off Calais, 8 English vessels laden with pitch, tar and gunpowder sailed into the crowded anchorage. The Spanish, fearing these floating infernos, panicked. Cutting their anchor cables, they scattered in disarray, their carefully ordered formation shattered. The English fireship attack, though causing minimal physical damage, had a devastating psychological impact. The Spanish, their formations broken, were vulnerable to a renewed English assault. The following day, August 8th, the Battle of Gravelines commenced, marking a turning point in the Armada's fortunes. As dawn broke over the Flemish coast, the English fleet, reinforced and spoiling for a fight, engaged the scattered Spanish ships. The Battle of Gravelines raged throughout the day, a furious exchange of cannon fire that shook the very foundations of the sea. The English, their ships faster and more manoeuvrable, once again dictated the terms of engagement. Their gunners, well-trained and disciplined, unleashed a relentless barrage on the Spanish vessels. The Spanish, their formations broken and morale shaken, fought bravely but were outmatched. Their heavier ships, designed for close-quarters combat, proved cumbersome and vulnerable to the English tactics of maintaining a distance and pounding the enemy with superior firepower. By nightfall, the Spanish Armada, battered and bruised, was in full retreat, their dreams of invasion lying in shattered timbers on the seabed. The Battle of Gravelines. The Battle of Gravelines, a furious maelstrom of cannon fire and desperate manoeuvres, raged for hours off the Flemish coast. The English, their ships nimble and their gunnery precise, hammered away at the Spanish formation. The Spanish, their once proud crescent formation in tatters, fought back with grim determination. But the tide had turned. English guns roared, sending splinters of oak and iron hurtling across the churning waters. Spanish rigging snapped, sails were shredded and masts toppled like stricken trees. The sea itself seemed to boil with the fury of the battle, the air thick with the acrid stench of gunpowder and the screams of wounded men. One by one, Spanish ships, their hulls pierced and decks awash with casualties, began to falter. The Galeas San Lorenzo, a powerful vessel armed with heavy guns, became hopelessly entangled with several English ships. Despite a valiant defence by her captain, Don Hugo de Moncada, the San Lorenzo succumbed to the relentless English onslaught, sinking beneath the waves with her colours still flying. The Battle of Gravelines, though less well known than the fireship attack, marked the decisive turning point in the campaign. The Spanish, their fleet battered and their morale shattered, were forced to abandon their invasion plans. Their only option, a perilous retreat northwards around the treacherous coast of Scotland and Ireland and back to the safety of Spain. A perilous journey home. The remnants of the once mighty Spanish Armada, battered by storms and ravaged by disease, limped back to Spain in the autumn of 1588. Of the 130 ships that had set sail from Lisbon with such high hopes, fewer than 60 returned, their decks crowded with sick and starving men, their flags hanging limply in the salty breeze. The Spanish coast, once envisioned as a triumphant homecoming, now represented a haven, a sanctuary from the horrors of the sea. As the battered ships straggled into port, they brought with them tales of unimaginable hardship, of courage and resilience in the face of overwhelming odds, and of the devastating consequences of defeat. The defeat of the Spanish Armada sent shockwaves across Europe. Philip II's dream of restoring England to the Catholic fold lay in ruins, his ambitions thwarted by the skill of English sailors, the unpredictable fury of the North Atlantic, and perhaps in the eyes of some, by the hand of divine providence. The Armada's defeat had profound implications for the balance of power in Europe. It marked the beginning of the decline of Spanish naval supremacy and the rise of England as a major maritime power. The English, their confidence bolstered by this stunning victory, would go on to establish a global empire, their ships sailing the seven seas, their flag planted on continents far and wide. The Armada's legacy. The defeat of the Spanish Armada in 1588 resonated throughout Europe, marking a turning point in history. It shattered the aura of Spanish invincibility, emboldened England's Protestant cause, and set the stage for England's rise as a major naval power. The memory of the Armada, etched into the annals of history, served as a potent symbol of Spanish ambition and English resilience. However, the story of the Anglo-Spanish War did not end with the Armada's defeat. In 1589, Queen Elizabeth launched her own counter-armada, aiming to deliver a decisive blow to the Spanish fleet and liberate Portugal from Spanish rule. The English Armada, however, met with disaster. Ravaged by storms and disease, its objectives left unfulfilled. Undeterred by the failure of 1588, Spain launched further armadas in 1596, 1597 and 1601. These expeditions, however, met with varying degrees of failure, hampered by storms, logistical problems and the ever-present threat of the English fleet. The dream of a successful Spanish invasion of England, once a burning ambition, slowly faded, replaced by the stark reality of English naval